I believe you reached out to one of my staff members and you had questions regarding our contact with the retail food facilities that utilize your farm for their eggs. And I think you just wanted a little bit more information on what we were doing there.
Yes, absolutely. In my conversation initially with the CDFA representative that was here, there was not going to be anybody reaching out to our customers specifically, because obviously, as you can imagine, that would create fear for something that is not definitive. And
Sure.
yeah, that was my main question was why would we, I asked at the initial meeting last week on Tuesday if they were looking at invoices specifically so they could reach out to them. They said they were not, and that they would not be reaching out to them until they had definitive information. And since we have not been notified of any definitive information, I would assume that that means there is none.
So just maybe it would be helpful. Do you want me to get some background, Heather?
Sure. Go ahead.
And then, so thanks for that specific question. And
were you with us at were you the one that was there?
No.
Okay.
Neither of us.
No, I was not there. So that was being done by, I don't do I don't go on site for the inspection piece. I'm on the epidemiology, the disease control side. So it's a little different than what Heather's doing, for example, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So we're the ones that do a lot of the case detection and the case monitoring, and so we were the ones that actually looked at this. So a couple of weeks ago, and you already saw this through the news, that the county had actually identified about, in total, what has now ended up being about 16 Salmonella cases, and this is specific to Salmonella enteritidis, but Salmonellosis cases.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, you heard that there were, and you may or may not have heard, but what we found was that the common denominator was that people were consuming various items from Ramona Family Naturals Deli at that point. And that was in the week before their illness, so it coincided. And then when we did interviews with these ill persons, it was found that they identified mayonnaise that was made with raw eggs. And that was eggs, in turn, when we asked questions, was supplied by Happy Hens. And that was the only commonly consumed item with these cases. And when we do interviews with people, and we have hundreds of Salmonella cases a year, we ask all kinds of questions. It's not just, zeroing in on one particular item that we're asking. We're asking multiple different things about everything you consume in the last week, just always looking for common things, and this is what came up. The other thing that we also discovered that we did what we call whole genome sequencing of the bacteria. And of 9 of the cases, for the ones that we can get, 9 of the cases
out of 16,
they were basically of the 16, they had the exact same strain. So when we say exact same strain, they're within, a few alleles. That means they're very unique and not associated with anything else.
So 9, but not all 16 had this.
So what we did find, so the rest of those cases are not available. What we do know is from those that there's 5 additional cases. So we have whole genome sequencing, and there's a lot of overlap here. So we have cases that are linked in the original 16 that are linked, but then there are ones that we found that were not a part of Ramona Natural Farm, Ramona Family Naturals. And we were actually able to, that's actually how we discovered that there were more cases outside of Ramona Family Naturals. So there were 5 additional cases, and when we asked, we actually discovered that they also were consuming food products made with Happy Hen eggs, or eggs purchased at other retail locations.
There's not other retail locations that make mayonnaise with our eggs, though. So that's where I'm like, so then where would they have eaten them at?
She's just referring to the eggs.
Right.
Just
so this is,
to the eggs.
Well, then that's where I'm like, where would they have eaten these eggs at?
Right.
Their home.
Yeah, and so again, so basically, and so I'm just trying to give you an overview of how we were able to link these cases. So we had the original ones at Ramona, at Ramona Family Naturals that had some that were genetically linked, some that actually said, yes, I actually indeed ate the mayo and the mayonnaise. And then outside of that, when we had other people, genetic testing came back, we started to discover other cases outside of the Ramona Family Naturals that also had connections to
Which you said
the
are
case.
5 cases total outside of Ramona Family Naturals?
So the entire total number of cases is actually 21 now.
21. So 16
And
cases
of that,
from RFN, or Ramona Family Naturals, and an additional 5
and
cases from
whole genome sequencing. Mm-hmm.
From various locations, from where?
Correct. And that is now, so that's 21, and we also have seven people that are hospitalized, that had been hospitalized. And all of these cases, the date range is anywhere from June 12th to July 30th. So that's very recent.
To July
That
30th.
actually also, so that actually means that the outbreak might still be going on.
So then where we
because
have,
that's very recent.
so then my question is this. So you pull this testing, you do all these different things. When we
Correct.
are required by CDFA to do salmonella testing on all of our flocks, what's the purpose of that? If our tests all show up negative and you're saying somehow there's a positive case, and then it's only, you're saying, from my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, this genome, you said genome sequencing?
Genomic sequencing,
is 100% going to come from eggs.
So
do you have that definitive yes or no?
So we haven't we do not have a positive egg. What we have are a group of individuals, all who have consumed a common denominator, which is the Happy Hens egg.
But then why? So then when CDFA was here, for example, my thing was like, let's go swab and test eggs right now. They're like, no, we're not doing that.
So that's not a great question for me. Heather, I don't know.
Yeah, we really can't speak to CDFA because that's outside of our regulatory authority. But I can bring it back to the original question, which was, our interaction with the markets. So for environmental health and quality, we implement the California Retail Food Code. And one of the concerns was that a lower grade than A of eggs had been sold to the market. And
to Ramona Family Naturals only. That is the only situation. So if you're saying it's coming from 5 other locations, there's no other account.
Those other five people, they just purchased eggs. So what I was going to say is what we learned as we were going through that with Ramona Family Naturals is that there wasn't a very large understanding of what grade eggs are required at food facilities. And so with that list of other facilities that receive your eggs, we wanted to verify that they were receiving the grade egg standards and that they were the grade A standard eggs and that they were aware of what they needed to be looking for in purchasing those eggs. We're also going to be doing some outreach and education with all of our 17,000 food facilities to make sure this is something they understand and what to look for on their invoices moving forward. So that was the purpose and intent of our calls, and it was limited to that with those markets.
Okay, unfortunately, like my only concern was that is not entirely true because on the invoices, every single one that they would have called and reached out to, all of these stores that have now connected back with us, all are invoiced specifically for a grade AA egg. The only one that would not have been would have been labeled on their invoices as checks. So every invoice was labeled correctly, but now it's like created this whole cycle of
conversations with the markets.
Of course. And my issue is this now: as a producer, somebody reaches out to you and you're like, hey, this person may have an issue with salmonella. My thinking is, okay, well, man, if they may have an issue, then I'm not going to order their product because that's a pretty scary statement.
Markets. We did not speak with any of these markets regarding the ongoing outbreak. Our conversations with them was limited to the eggs that they receive and making sure that they're the correct grade.
So from my understanding, and again, I just had a conversation with a grocery store chain this afternoon. They said that they spoke with a man named Ernest Salinas, and he specifically let them know that, hey, these eggs are linked to an ongoing investigation of an outbreak of salmonella. So would you count that as saying that you're not explicitly saying we have salmonella linked to our eggs?
I can certainly circle back around with Ernest.
That would be
He did
wonderful.
not say that that was his conversation with any of the markets, and that he was really focused in on the grade of the eggs.
Mm-hmm.
There's also been media out, regarding the salmonella outbreak. So do you think potentially they could have put that together, or?
No, certainly not. I mean, especially these store chains that I'm speaking with currently have been, we've worked with them for, near 15 years here. So definitely not. I mean, the people I'm talking to, I've been talking to for years, have a great relationship with them, and they're quite open and honest in how we communicate with each other. So for me, I've had this, as a producer, I hope you can see the frustration on our end, where if that is the information that's being put out, that you would naturally see how it would cause fear in something that may or may not be a situation. And if it is this serious of an issue, my thinking is why, as like the health department, public health, or these different environmental facilities or organizations, why are we not just going straight to the product and testing the product? Especially because, as I mentioned previously, CDFA does a job continuously regulating whether or not producers have salmonella or not by requiring us to do testing. So if we're required to do testing, our testing comes back negative. Well, that's where I'm asking you directly, because my mind is like, well, if you guys are who's reaching out to our customers and who's in connection with them and causing people to be like, hey, we're just going to hold off on ordering because there's this fear now out there, then I'm trying to get a clarity from you why your next step in your investigation wouldn't be, let's just test the eggs.
So I think that the next step, and I understand what you're saying, but we also have, there's a couple different things here. One is that I think that we're trying to answer a lot of questions for CDFA that are out of our hands, right? So, but I think you're asking very legitimate questions. So I think we need to regroup and have that discussion with them and ask the questions that you're posing, because I think that's a reasonable question to ask. I think from our standpoint, and if you're asking me as from the epidemiology side, as a medical director of epidemiology, like, what's your opinion? And you don't need to have egg testing present to confirm that this is indeed an outbreak associated with the eggs that were distributed or linked to Happy Hens. Does that make sense?
No, that does not make any sense to me at all, because in my mind, you would 100% need the eggs present to say it is linked, because that's how facts are established.
Understood, but by the vast majority of the time, most of these issues have already been far distributed. So when they've done studies in the past looking at this, and you can go back and look at eggs and salmonella studies, that most of the time, unfortunately, those eggs have been far gone along distributed and actually can't really ever find a source. So you go back and you test those eggs. So say large groups of people get sick, you go back and you try to test the eggs to look for a source. Vast majority of the time, you can't actually find anything. So that's why people don't typically go back and test. And that's why we can ask the question to CDFA, but that's going to be likely their answer, is that it's not really going to yield anything, because how many eggs are you going to test? What farms? It gets incredibly difficult to be able to pinpoint a source, just because the egg market, as you know, is so is so complicated.
Well, I think that makes sense if there's this vast aspect of like brokering, right? So I understand that piece, but if these eggs are coming directly from our farm, we know the source, we know exactly where they're coming from. I'm not brokering eggs from, Timbuktu to bring here from places I have no idea about, and then just selling them under my label. Like, every egg that is here, we know exactly where the chickens are coming from. So I could legitimately say this barn, this field, this, that. So as a producer who's not this massive conglomerate, huge company, and as a small farmer, I can say I know where the eggs are coming from. I know the quality, the care, the intent, the integrity that we have and how we raise our products. I know all the additional testing we have to do based on all the requirements that the state has on egg producers. And with that, my thinking is, okay, how are then these arbitrary things going to come in and be like, well, hey, in my sense, again, I mean, no disrespect to you at all, but this idea that, hey, well, the eggs are the most likely, so we're just going to tag it onto that and say, here we go. And this is now
That's
where we
not,
are.
yeah, and understood, and I understand your frustration. I think, these are not decisions that we just kind of pick out of a box and say, hey, I think it's this. This is done after much investigation and deliberation. And when there are 21 individuals and 7 people hospitalized that are all pointing to the exact same comments, that's a rare event to occur. Otherwise, we would be declaring outbreaks all the time. And so with the overall very unique genetic association and people indicating the exact same thing that they ate, that is a highly improbable event. Therefore, that is why this outbreak is associated with happy hen eggs.
Well,
So
my question
I think,
too is, recently there's been like an outbreak with lettuce, for example. So let's say everybody ate a
yeah, sure.
sandwich. Everybody ate a sandwich, right? There's mayonnaise, there's lettuce, there's all these varieties of different items on the sandwiches that they're eating. And you went through
We are
all of those.
constantly
Did you go through each
correct. Yeah.
individual product that would have been there?
Yeah. So when we actually do these things, we actually itemize restaurant menus down to the ingredient level, and we actually do ingredient level analysis. So this isn't just something that we take the whole thing like, oh, a sandwich. No, we actually look at the bread. We look at every single thing that's listed in, and we actually ask people in the restaurant or in a deli, like what exactly they put on there from beginning to end. And so that's actually a very common practice. That's a great question. And lettuce outbreaks and the things that you're seeing, for example, the jalapeno, that's a different type of salmonella. The outbreaks in eggs in another part of the country, that's a different type of salmonella. It's not even associated with this. The cyclosporiasis is a parasite, so that's in the lettuce, and that's been a different. But we, again, no cases here. We get cases here. We monitor for that. So these are all the different things that we are constantly looking at and looking for. And again, we haven't had any of those outbreaks or associations, and we are always looking for those.
So then 100%, just for clarity again, 100%, you can say that genome sequence is 100% attached to our eggs. Without having seen our eggs, without having looked at them, you can say that with full confidence, 100%.
So I can't ever say anything is 100% because we haven't tested the eggs, but our association is how I would put it, is that the most likely cause of this outbreak is the happy hen eggs, and that's what we would say publicly as well.
And then with that, so the type of testing that you do in your epidemiology labs, would that be the same type of testing that they do in the swab sampling that we do for Salmonella continually? We test specifically Salmonella enteritis, which you're saying is what the outbreak is. So I just want to make sure, is it the same type of testing they would do?
I'm assuming that it's still bacterial testing, but I'd have to ask them what level of genetic testing that they're doing. So I don't know and that's where we can cross-reference with CDFA. So I think for next steps, we can absolutely talk to CDFA to answer some of these outline questions that you have.
Are there additional?
And Chloe, would it be helpful for us to set up a call with CDFA as well? I know that you're familiar with them and you have your own contacts, but would that be helpful to also kind of come back together with them to get some of these questions answered?
I mean, if you think that would be a good avenue to go, then I'm happy to happy to do that. If there's stuff that you can't answer, then that would be fine. But yeah, my concerns are those, like, why are people being reached out to when there's no definitive information or no clear testing that's been done? The fact that you're saying you can confidently say that you would publicly announce that the outbreak is linked to our eggs is incredibly alarming to me, having not tested our eggs, having not done anything with them. I mean, that gives me very little confidence, I can say, in our system, because that, again, how can you say something is linked to something with no evidence at all? No ground to, like, for me, there's no ground to stand on if we have no physical tests done. And if we are doing this testing with CDFA and our tests are all coming back negative, and somehow now we've got a positive in amongst our flocks, again, I mean, as a producer, as a consumer, as anything, I feel like I haven't, it drops a lot of my confidence level in any of the stuff that we're doing here. Because if CDFA requires this to ensure that salmonella is not going out onto the market, but you're saying you personally are like, I can say that I would publicly say that these are linked to Happy Hens eggs, while I can show you numerous in all of our SE testing showing negative. That to me is an incredibly like non-congruent situation.
Right, and I appreciate those concerns that you have brought up and have reiterated. But again, from our standpoint, if I have to be transparent with the public, and I have to be honest with the public, and that is exactly how I would share that information. That there have been, that number of people that have been ill and have all had the common shared information that they or information that was shared that they consumed this product.
Yeah, we have done no testing and have no link, but I am 100% confident that this is Happy Hens eggs.
Yeah, and it's just a different type of testing. It's more of the epidemiological testing. All of the humans that became ill were tested and tested positive, and this was the common factor. So it's just testing in a different way, more of a downstream way. So Chloe, I can reach out to CDFA and connect with them, and then we can kind of come back together and see what their recommendations are, and hopefully they can answer a few more of your questions. Is this the best number to reach you at?
This is the best number to reach me.
Okay.
So then that backwards
Alrighty.
way, kind of like you were just mentioning, that you kind of just worked backwards. I mean, I remember just basic chemistry class when I went to school for a little while there. Normally you would have to have like a variant that was like an unchanging variant, right? Like something that you start with your base and then from there you work up from it. So the same is not the case for when you guys do testing. You work backwards and you kind of just figure out what would be based on your investigation and conversations without testing any other products. That's kind of where we land. You guys all had this. This must be it.
That's not standard. They're all different kinds of processes is the way that we look at outbreaks, but that is certainly one common thread. And again, we're not talking about just a few cases. We're talking about 21 cases and
9. You said I think 9 all had the same thing, but there was like the other 6 had not had it.
No, that there were 9 that have been whole genome sequenced of that, and there were another 5 that were, and of that 5 are actually outside of the Ramona family naturals number of cases.
And all 5 of those,
how we discover.
Are they at the same location?
No, they were at different locations.
Where are those ones coming from?
I need to go back and look.
My understanding is that they had purchased eggs, and so that was the common denominator. It wasn't linked necessarily to a retail food facility.
But she's saying that they're all coming back from some specific place in all different places. No. So my thinking is I'd like to reach out to our vendors if that's the case and see what information they have, if that's not all coming from one location.
I can see if we can have if we're allowed to share a list back. Let me look.
Okay. Yeah, and if any are associated with a retail food facility, I think that is information that we would be able to share as part of the investigation.
You would not be able to share?
We would be able to share.
Oh.
Okay, so we can follow up with that information, and then I can work on some dates and times with CDFA and get back to you, and we'll go from there.
And remind me your name one more time.
Yeah, my first name is Heather. My last name is Bonomo, Buonomo.
And what was your name, ma'am? I'm
Shaw, Shah.
All right, wonderful. Well, thank you guys for your time and for reaching out. I'll look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you. Take care.